Hey everybody, it is 7:21 p.m. on June 29th, 2019. Okay, I'm coming back with my story. So let's just do a little recap, okay? So you all know that I've been doing my videos primarily out at Lake Grapevine on the Flower Mound side. And I always take my fur kids with me, most of the time. And I always sit at that front bench, right? That front picnic table right by the water. Many of you spoke about the egrets that you would see, my raptor birds, I would call them, that would sit there on the edge and listen. And it was just an amazing time, hiding behind the camera, seeing the beautiful sunsets, and goodness, I wanted to do a sunset one night, and we had a beautiful summer that year, a very hot one, so we had a wonderful fall. Even though it was still in the 70s and 80s, it was beautiful. And even though it's a state park, it's run by the Army Corps of Engineers, and I saw the changing of the shifts like 2 years in a row. And these guys pretty much knew me. You know, I sat out there and did super moons and blood moons and sat out there a lot. And they always came down and checked on me, gave me directions to their place in case I ever needed any help, etc., etc. Okay, so you know that I sat on the front table. To the right of me was a wooded area, about 3 to 5 yards from me. And on the other side of that, there was an inlet where the boats would come in and out. So if you picture, me sitting there, the woods to the right, the inlet, and then the woods go all the way back to the boat ramp. Right behind me is the parking lot, or not right behind me, it's a little bit of a walk to the parking lot, where the cars were, and then the boat ramp was still farther down. So this one night, well, I had been noticing, first of all, that, the white egrets that we saw all the time, all of a sudden got mixed in with some really eerie looking, big, huge black birds that I'd never seen before. And I remember asking one of the guys that I knew what it was. He told me the name of it and said that it only came here for a couple months out of the year before it was migrating someplace else. Now, when I looked up the bird, I didn't get that same kind of feeling that he was talking about, nor do I remember the name of it. That's how strange it is, and I can't even find a picture of it. Okay, but the Lord is good. You know what? He pulled everything together this week to finalize things, so he's amazing. Don't ever put him on the box, and his timing is perfect. There's a reason why I couldn't get the story out before. Okay, so you pretty much got that. And now you're saying that the Corps of Engineers, they've left. It's kind of fall. Things are growing up. I'm not bringing the pups anymore because of the burrs and just all the yuck. And it was a chore bringing them. When we went for a few hours, that was one thing. But that night, I was sitting there, and I had done a sunset video for a sister, and it was a beautiful night. And knowing that it gets dark earlier, it couldn't have been past 8:30, if that. And so there's still a little bit of light out. And of course, the skies are big, and I was getting some light, and I could see. But I did notice that there was absolutely nobody around. There wasn't a boat in the water. There wasn't a ripple anywhere at all. Not a soul. Nobody at the Corps of Engineers was around. Nothing. So as I was sitting there at the edge of the table and talking to the Lord and praying and just enjoying the moment, one of them big, huge black birds landed right at my feet, like pretty much right at the edge of the water. So being a little bit surprised, I kind of hopped down and kind of started walking towards the bird. And being 5'2", and little myself, I see that this bird is quite large. He had to be at least 6 feet tall, if not more. Um, and so I didn't go any farther. I just kind of stood there and looked at him and talked to him for a minute and waited for some kind of response. And the response that I got was he just looked at me and he took off in flight. And when he took off in flight, his wing spread was humongous. It was gigantic. I'm like, whoa, okay, that was really weird. Okay, Lord, what was this all about? As I go and I sit back on the table. So I'm sitting there for a few more minutes thinking, well, I should be heading home anytime soon now. And all of a sudden I hear, well, it sounded like somebody was breaking sticks, like broken sticks, like somebody was walking on something and breaking the sticks. And now knowing that this wooded area to the right of me was full and no longer see-throughable, I kind of thought that's where it was coming from, but I looked behind me to my left and saw that there was nobody around, no cars, no boats, nobody could have made that noise. I'm like, all right, so, thinking there's critters, the weeds had grown up, and, there could have been all kinds of things that made that noise, right? So, like, within a minute, all of a sudden I heard, and the only way I can explain it is this very low, guttural growl that shook me. Frozen in fear. I really have to say I was. It shook me. It shook my belly. I could feel it in my belly. It wasn't like a loud growl at all. It was a very low, like it made the ground tremble, like my body trembled, my belly trembled, every single hair went up on my body. And and my eyes just kind of popped open, and I'm connecting the breaking of sticks and the sounds that I'm hearing to that, not knowing what it was at all. And all of a sudden I heard, just get your stuff together and walk slowly back to your car. I'm like, yes, Lord. So I proceeded to just get up, not even look towards the woods, put my stuff together, and I started walking to my car. Now, again, reminding you that the wooded area I have to walk by is to my right when I'm sitting there, but it's to my left as I'm walking back to the car, and I'm a little closer to it now, probably about 3 yards. And again, I heard that very low, guttural growl, but not as loud this time, nor was it fearful, as I've already heard it once, right? So I wanted to look so bad, and something told me not to make eye contact with it, but I wanted to take a glance. So I kind of looked to the outside of my eye, kind of without turning my head all the way around. And I saw like a very large formation on top. I saw like a snout of a huge dog. I didn't see the ears. I saw the eyes were an amber red. They're more like an amber, but there was like some red in them. And I could see how muscular and how big this was. And I can probably say 7 to 8 feet, if I'm being accurate from what I saw. And I couldn't tell with the movement whether it was hiding behind the trees or in between the trees or exactly what was happening, but I knew I was going back to my car and walking slowly and not running. So as I got in the car, I remember going, whoa, what was that, Lord? One of those things. And I just kind of came home and then decided to start doing a search on what was it that I saw? What could it possibly have been, right? So that's where I found some of y'all as I see your channels. And I mean absolutely no offense to the Bigfoot community and or the cryptid community or anybody that knows anything about this at all. I'm just telling you what I've been shown by the Lord, okay? Because I do believe in Bigfoot. I grew up in the woods in Maine. I've seen all those structures before, but I was a little kid. I never associated anything with anything. And then, of course, back then, if we said anything about anything, we were told to be quiet because we're crazy, right? And then again, even this, and trying to talk to somebody about it, I was told I was crazy until I talked to a sister who shared a whole lot with me and helped me a whole lot in seeing and understanding what I saw. So, in my search, I was watching a video one night, I think because of the title about the Texas Dogman or something, and by the Supernaturalist channel. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he reads stories very well. Some are true, some are not. I did, Strange But True, Sasquatch Ontario, Sasquatch Chronicles, Missing 411, David Pilatus. I do believe that the Bigfoots probably have a lot to do with that, as we know about the missing children who have been taken care of, literally. I don't think that they'd really harmed them, not right now anyways. But we know that the bears are hibernating in the winter, so it's that would be what a 3-year-old would explain. So as I'm going through this and listening to this channel, I see this guy called Hulk Smash, and he leaves a comment about when he first moved to Texas. He said, from California, I worked at IKEA, the night shift, and being a recent transplant, I didn't have a toll tag yet, so I had to take Service Road FM 3040 to get home. Now, if you remember 3040, I speak about a lot because that's one of my favorite streets to ride on. It's 2 blocks from me, okay, just to get there. And it's a nice road. And then he's talking and he's giving us to the guy. He said, and then he said, it was a little past midnight on my way home. I caught something on the right side of the road coming from the woods with 2 yellow, amber, reddish eyes. And this thing was huge. It ran alongside my car for 15 seconds on the edge of the woods, and I honked my horn, and it leaped into the woods. Anytime I pass this area, I wonder if this thing is looking at me. And I'm like, whoa, what? And so I responded to him, and I asked him some questions, and I'm like, hey, I'm in Louisville, 121 and 3040 are right around the corner. And he said, well, hey, I'm a 6'1", 220-pound guy, and nothing scares me, but I promise this scared me. This is nothing I would ever want to mess with, nor would I ever want to get a flat tire on that road. Please stay away from there. And then when he mentioned the racetrack, it's like, okay, I know exactly where you are. And then, of course, as I'm trying to warn people that live here about this area, of course, they're thinking I'm crazy, just like we're telling them about Jesus, right? All right. So, yeah, nobody wants to believe that. That's okay. I'm sorry, but I warned. I did my best anyways as I'm researching all this. And then I'm seeing comments from y'all on other channels as I'm there. We're saying hi to each other. So I know that some of y'all have interest in them and or have had encounters of yourself and or believe and know that they are real and that they're coming back as in specified. In Genesis 11, we find out that was the reason for the flood, and we know that they're going to be coming back during tribulation. And I also found out that the government now controls them with frequencies. They know that they're here, and they can control them with frequencies, and keep them at bay. I don't know what they're going to use them for, but I don't think it's for anything good, because they're beasts. This guy was huge and humongous, and at 5'2", if that guy had wanted me with as close as I was, it could have happened in a second. Okay, so yeah. My advice is, for those of you that are out there looking for Bigfoot, just sit in the middle of the woods somewhere. They'll find you, okay? They're there and they're always watching, right? But this is a different species, and as what I'm getting is, I'm getting pure evil whenever I think or see or hear of a dog man. And I think that their goal is fear, which is the enemy's goal, right? It's absolute fear. So, as I'm going through this and I'm talking to him, and, of course, several other people wanted my story, and, oh, I didn't want to give it to them, and I wasn't quite ready anyways, and I wasn't finished with the story yet as far as what I needed to know from the Lord. So, yeah, isn't it amazing how our God works, right? A brother who had done a video actually has a picture of exactly what I saw, that one of his subs had noticed was sitting on the side of the bank when he was out there in his kayak, and I'm going to put his video in the description link, as that's exactly what I saw, only I really couldn't tell you that I saw the ears. I wouldn't be honest in saying that, because it could have been woods, trees, it could have been a lot of things, or it could have been the ears, but I knew it was very muscular and very big, and I can tell you right now that guttural, low growl shook my insides. So, whew, that was, yeah, and every single piece of hair went up on my neck, hair, body, everywhere. Don't go looking for them. And then there's wild stories out there, like Coke says, and I even found the video today that was already crazy. It's like, where did you give your story? Because I remember hearing his story before, so I'm going to put his story that he actually gave to the Supernaturalist channel as well. And he'll be the last story on there. But I'm going to put Birdman, Brother Randy, and please go sub to his channel. He's got an awesome channel. He's a wonderful brother, and he'll share some awesome, beautiful scenery with you, and some eagles, signifying the Holy Spirit, of course. We fight against the storm, and he that waits upon the Lord, he will spread his wings as eagles, right? So learning all this, it really took me a year and a half of researching, of praying, of, my goodness, I was looking at things that were really kind of creepy and scary. I had to try to figure out the real from the fake, and all this other stuff, because there's so many people faking Bigfoot out there. Everybody wants to be the claim to fame, right, on finding him first. Why? Like I said, you don't have to find them, they find you, and they're everywhere. And all you have to do is go 10 feet into the woods and you'll find structures, and you need to know what you're looking for. Missing 411. Today, in 2019, I do not think that I would be camping in the woods, or I know there's things from Girl Scout camps and things that I did see in the woods that when I did talk about them, I was crazy and sent home. So, you just stop talking about them after a while, or telling people what you saw, because they just don't want to believe it. Just like Jesus, right? They just don't want to believe it. Just like the tribulation, they just don't want to believe it. The fact that they need a Savior, they just don't want to believe it. And the Bible strictly tells us that these things are coming back during the tribulation time, and they're not going to be so nice. So I know many people, many of y'all call them your foolish friends, and I've heard many titles given to them, and gifting and all that stuff, and I believe that they're very nice right now. But don't get too close and don't get too chummy, because there's going to be a time when they're not. But as far as Bigfoot is concerned, I'll leave that to y'all. What I know about the dog man is it's pure evil. I can't give an account or anything of what I know definitely that they tore up, killed, or did anything other than the fact that I know that fear is their tactic, because they certainly know how to scare the heebie-jeebies out of you and run alongside of cars. So I've got the guy's actual testimony, or from his verbiage to the Supernaturalist channel, on his story about what happened just a couple blocks from me over here, and I'm in city limits. And then what I saw at the lake is my story that I'm telling you. Whether you believe me or not, that's up to you. But I wouldn't lie to you about something like this, and I think many of you know that. And I think many of you may even share your experiences, because I've heard some of them before, and they're awesome. And so let's not be afraid. Let's stand for Jesus, and let's warn people that, hey, the King surely is coming. Jesus surely is coming. The time of Jacob's trouble surely is coming. And it's not going to be a fun time here on earth, okay? But we are protected under his wings in Psalms 91. Peace and protection, right? So, getting my story out, I'm going to say this is Debbie from Texas saying peace out. Maranatha. And keep looking up. The King surely is coming.